Okay, Sophia, I have a spreadsheet here for you that will help you very, very much with everything that we're doing in this project. There are only a couple things you actually have to enter in. There are only a couple calculations that you'll have to do later. Overall, this spreadsheet will do most of the work for you. You do a little bit of work at the end. First, you'll want to come up with some kind of subject ID for whatever person you're doing. So let's say you were measuring me. You can use the initials and date of the person that's taking the test. You can use the some fancy code for yourself, like it's the first subject, so you use subject 1 or something like that. I'm just going to assume that you have some system set up for yourself. Mine would be initials and date, SS, if you're testing me, 01, 05, 26. And that would be the same for the next 3 cells here, because you are going to collect baseline data, which I have for you in blue there. You're going to collect a stress moment, and you're going to have a recovery moment, right? What we want to measure is the interval between R waves. The R to R interval is the time that it takes to go from here to there, and that's basically the heart rate for one beat. But I don't want you to have to sit there and calculate that on your vernier scope because it's very small and hard to see. So we zoom in on the data and we look for one specific R wave. And we enter in that first moment, that time that R wave happens. So let's say it happens at 1.029 seconds. That is 1,029 milliseconds. You want to record it as milliseconds, but if you ever have trouble, you can just record the seconds and press equals. Let's say this was at 5,000 seconds or 5 seconds or something like that. 5 seconds times 1,000, because there are 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second, and it'll automatically calculate that for you. But try yourself at multiplying by 1,000. Then I would look for the very next R wave that I can find on the EKG, and I would enter in the time for that specifically. That would be something like 1.036 seconds or something like that, which would be 036, like that. Now this is completely made up data. You're not going to get that small of a number. It's not going to be 7 milliseconds between one heart beat and another, but bear with me because I'm using numbers off the top of my head. You would do the same thing again during the baseline time and record it 1, 2, 3, 4 more times for a total of 5 intervals between the two. And you'll notice that each one of them does record itself, does the math for you to find the interval for each heartbeat, how long each heartbeat takes. So let's say the next one happened at 3.00 seconds, and the one after that happened at 3.567 seconds. Boom, just like that. Again, made up numbers, do not worry. What this spreadsheet does next is it cleans that data to only focus on the intervals. You don't have to do anything on this spreadsheet. Additionally, it will try to find those calculations for you for each session that you do. It will calculate the average or mean RR interval, and it will calculate it differently for the stress part and the recovery part, because you're going to enter in the stress and recovery separately. It'll enter in a mean heart rate, beats per minute. I definitely have to fix the formula here. I think it's 6,000. There we go. Yeah. Fix the formula for you real quick there. So the mean heart rate of me during that time was 52 beats per minute, which actually is not that bad, surprising. It will calculate those special variables that we talked about in your methods section. The standard deviation of normal, meaning how much the normal rhythm deviates in that time. and the root mean square of successive differences. How different is each heartbeat from each other? And we'll do this automatically for every single one that you have. Let's say that your next person is your sister. Something like that. And you record your sister's information. Look at that. The sister's information pops up in the next row right there. This spreadsheet will do all the organizing you need, except for when we want to look at how we can compare a stress versus the baseline and recovery versus the baseline. That will have to be done over here. It tells you exactly how to do that in the box there. You'll take the values from this table over here and enter them in via a formula. And you'll always start with the equals sign. So it'll be equals the stress RMS of the test subject. We look over here, and the stress RMS, the stress root mean square would be this one right here, minus the baseline RMS, that would be, oops, this one right here, minus the baseline. And if you hit enter, it will do the math for you. You just have to pick the data specifically each time. You can't just find the data for us, unfortunately. Then we take the value to the left here, so equals this, and then divide by that baseline again. What this is doing is it's comparing the baseline information to it so we can get a percent change, how much it percentively changed, whether it changed 90% or 10%. And you do the same thing with the mean heart rate and percent of the mean heart rate. So this sheet, this last page in this sheet, is not an automatic calculation, but it's darn close to it. You just have to pick the data for it to do. Okay? Let me know if I can help out with the spreadsheet. I know it's a lot of numbers all at once. For now, I would just focus on collecting raw data and letting the spreadsheet spit out numbers for you later on.